there are comedians and there are philosophers, and there are philosophic comedians and there are comedic philosophers. And then there is Rodney Norman, comedian, philosopher, joy sparker, friend, and the purveyor of positivity. And he's performing this Friday and Saturday, September 1st and 2nd at Wise Guys Comedy in the Arts District of downtown Las Vegas. For ticket information, go to wiseguyscomedy.com. And for everything about Rodney Norman, go to rodneynorman.com. And you can follow him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And Rodney, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. As a philosopher, I thought we'd start off very heavy. I'm not going to ask you the meaning of life. I thought I would ask you the meaning of death.
Meaning of death?
Yes, well, just as a nice, bright opening. What do you think?
Let's get right to the meat of it. That's what I'm talking about. Let's start sucking some marrow out of some bones. Let's do it. Well, I like to point out to people that in the big cosmic realm of everything, and that we are energy, and that energy cannot be destroyed, and that we're all connected. When it really comes down to it, we're the ones who are dead. We're the ones who are cut off from the source. So really, when we die, we're just actually opening up to a greater reality. So this is some sort of I think this is just some sort of weird game that we all agreed to play, to be a part of. And so here we are. We're here to learn and grow and have some fun and learn something about ourselves and understand what's right and wrong. And it's a big glorious game that we're playing.
Well, good. I wanted to get the heavy part out of the way so we could then have a lot of fun. I want to describe you to people who are not watching but just listening. And some will get this reference and some will not, which is okay with me because it's my show. I describe you as a cross between Professor Irwin Corey and a young Gabby Hayes. And so if people can get that in their mind, that's Rodney Norman. And so thank you for laughing. I'm sure not everybody will get the references, but it's okay. It's fine. What's that?
Irwin Corey was amazing. I love that guy.
Yeah, you have that.
And so was Gabby Hayes.
Exactly. So, you just have that physical and some of that energy of combined of both of those guys. Your background is actually philosophy, isn't it? Before you got into comedy, or maybe you always
I was kind of involved in both throughout my whole life. I just they were both big interests to me. So being able to combine them together has been the dream of my existence.
When did you decide to combine it? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Zoom are slightly delayed. Go ahead.
Well, probably one of the earliest things that really got me going to it was, the stand-up philosopher in the old History of the World Part 1. Mel Brooks, he had a thing about a stand-up philosopher, and it struck me as a kid that really comedians are philosophers. And philosophers back in the day, back in the times of Greece and such, they would set up in the square and entertain people. I mean, that was really what they was entertainers. And people would sit and watch it. And to me, comedy is stand-up comedy is where you can do that kind of thing. I mean, in colleges, if you're up there as a professor, you're specialized and you're teaching the same subjects over and over again. You're talking to students who are interested in it already, which is one thing. But to get up in front of people who don't know that anything about philosophy, be able to teach them and show them around and get them to understand that philosophy is not something to be scared of, that it's not this thing, even though most of it is just nonsense garbage where it's just one philosopher trying to out-philosophize another philosopher, and most of it just gets mired in this language that they start creating themselves. And and most of it just becomes, gobbledygook and nonsense. And I thought, why not take the gobbledygook and make a career out of it, making people laugh? And so, I don't know if you've ever heard the thing that philosophers are just comedians with bad material.
Right.
And I thought, hey, why not be a philosopher with great material?
Exactly.
And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, and not everybody gets it, which is great. Makes it even funnier for me.
Yes.
But those who do, and they understand what's going on, boy, it's a lot of fun.
When did you decide to, in essence, become a professional performer? Clearly, you have the background in academia, but you made a decision at some point about 25 years ago to perform as that combination of everything I mentioned at the beginning.
Well, like I said, I've always loved stand-up comedy and acting. I was going into acting, and my wife really just kept pushing me. She was like, if you're a stand-up comic, nobody can tell you no. I mean, you're on stage, you're doing your own thing, doing your own stuff. You're just do stand-up comedy. You have more control. You'll be happier. And so uh, I thought, well, okay, why not? And I got on stage at an open mic one night and got a couple chuckles, and I thought, that's it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, man. This is
You
it.
were
And
hooked.
then, yeah, I was hooked. And then when I went on and got my degree in philosophy and started really working that stuff in, it's just been glorious. It's been an absolute joy, you know.
Were your professors at the time you got the degree in philosophy, were they aware of your pending career as a stand-up as well? Or did
Oh
you
yeah, yeah, like I said, I was already when I by the time I got my degree, I'd already been doing stand up for about over 15 years.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I'd been doing stand up, but I'd been studying philosophy just kind of on my own. And then when I finally decided to go back and get my degree, um, and get into philosophy, it was at first I kind of wanted to mix the two, but I wasn't sure quite how to go about doing it. And then once I got really into the degree, I realized it's all comedy fodder. All of it's ridiculous, and I just wanted to share it with everybody how ridiculous philosophy is, especially nowadays.
Well, yes, and philosophy and comedy are both in danger when you get people that want to censor you. So philosophical
Yeah.
ideas can be dangerous and comedic ideas can be dangerous. So you're a double threat
Yes.
in that sense. I want to compliment you because I just did some quick research when you mentioned that your wife, Teresa, had suggested that you should go on and become a stand-up comedian. I just did some quick research and found out that you are the only man in North America that actually listened to his wife's advice. So congratulations.
Well,
And
when people ask me for marital advice, I tell them just agree with her on everything. That way, if it works out, you're a supporting and kind and wise husband. And if it fails, well, you can just say, "Hey, I trusted you, and it's all your fault." So you win-win.
exactly. You were on the comedy festival circuit too. You received an award back, I believe, in Rhode Island. Is that right?
Yeah, most of these festivals have competitions that go along with them, and yeah, it was one of the ones that I won. I've competed in many, but I actually won that one, so that
That's
was
good.
fun.
Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do with people that, or audiences really, that don't quite know, to use a cliche, where you're coming from? In other words, you come out on stage and you're hilarious, but some people look at you and go, "Who is that guy?" That's a combination of Irwin Corey and Gabby Hayes.
Oh, I just you know what, as they say, never explain the joke, never explain what's going on. If they don't get it, they don't get it. You just have to deal with the fact that there's just stupid people in the world who don't get it. And instead of beating yourself up and feeling bad about it, you feel bad for them and move on with your life.
I must have a lot of stupid guests because I always find myself explaining and telling them, "Well, that was a joke," what I just said, because they weren't laughing. So that's a defect in me. I'll take your advice and just keep going, with the thing. So that's okay. One of the things you say and if you go to the website, rodneynorman.com, you have a blog post there about the concept of you're nothing special. Can you share that with our audience? Why
Oh,
that
sure. Yes, this
some
is
people interpret it as positive and some people interpret it as negative. And I'm going to shut up and let you explain it. Thank you.
well, back when the whole kerfuffle started, and we all are sitting at home, and everybody's thinking it's the end of the world, and um, everybody's lives are falling apart, and nobody's being able to work, and all the terrible things that were going on. I just decided to make a video telling people, say, hey, look, um, I know life is terrible. I know you don't have enough money and things, and you're scared and you're confused. But when it really comes down to it, you're nothing special. We're all going through it. We're all experiencing difficulties, and that's really what it was. Is just I was just explaining that you're not being singled out by the universe. We're all going through all this together. We all experience difficulties. We all have trials in life. Nobody has a perfect sailing through any of this. And if you have a perfect sailing, you have nothing to be worried about. You usually turn out to be a real turd of a human being because you don't have any adversity, you don't have any struggles or trials,
Mm-hmm.
and that turns you into a horrible monster. Uh, so embrace the fact that your life isn't perfect. Embrace the fact that you have difficulties and struggles, and that you have to work hard for your uh, for your life. And that's what it was about. Just and a lot of it is just surrendering your pride, surrendering your ego, and just saying, look, I'm nothing special. I'm just one of another 9 million human beings on this planet, and I'm just going to live my life and be as happy as I can and help others do the same. And that's the message. And some people are like, oh, you're some sort of weird hippie. Most of the people who disagree with the statement or get mad at me are people who never actually watched the video or read the blog. So I don't care. That's their problem, not mine.
It's interesting. People, yeah, they interpret what they want based on what you're communicating, and that's why you felt the need to. Well, in this case, you did explain, as opposed to not ever explaining a joke or saying that was a joke. You're explaining what you meant in terms of that you're nothing special, because we're all the same and we all deal with health issues, as you can tell in my voice, which has been gone for a couple of days, so my audience will understand. But whether it's health issues, finances, relationships, whatever, everybody goes through the same. So if you're human, which we all are, then fine. And if you're perfect, then there's something almost inhuman in a way, because how do you relate? There's no empathy. There's no relating to other people.
Yeah, exactly. So, I grew up going to high school at a school that was a lot of rich kids in it. And, when I was younger, I used to look at them and go, oh, they got such an advantage, and they're going to have so much better life. And a lot of them have, a lot of them were able to go on to really expensive colleges and have great careers and, and such. But I also saw a lot of them went into drugs and alcohol very early on. They never felt like anything they accomplished was worth anything because everything was handed to them, So I saw that, and it was kind of bewildering to me. It's like, wow, you got everything that you could ever want and hope for, and kids would drive Maseratis and Ferraris to school, and then 10 years later find out that they're um, an assistant manager at a pizza place somewhere in Peoria, and it cut out of their family because they're a complete disaster of a human being. I mean, it's you hear about that kind of stuff, and it's sad, that they were given such a great opportunity to start the life, and then they did nothing with it. Then there's others who had absolutely nothing, who had even less than what I had, and they're even more successful than I am. And it's not that I'm successful, but uh, it's just life is just such a grab bag. It's just you don't know. You should just as I like to just tell people, just enjoy whatever it is that you've got. Just deal with it. Be happy with what you have. I tell people, set happiness and make happiness your reset. You know, that regardless of whatever happens in life, just come back to just you're still here, you still exist,
Right.
you're still moving along. You can still do something with yourself that should make you happy. And you don't have to be, everything doesn't have to be puppies and rainbows all the time. If you did, you get tired of puppies and rainbows. You need a variety. Enjoy the variety. Enjoy the setbacks. Enjoy and when you have victories, celebrate them. Celebrate and enjoy them. But don't become consumed by all of this stuff. Don't let the good stuff go to your head, and don't let the bad stuff drag you down.
That's basic and great. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that part of it is due to the amount of media we have and the messages from media that just, especially on the advertising side, but even on programming, that there's this artificial construct of what we need or should be to be happy instead of just living our lives?
Oh, absolutely. Everything is you have to have the most expensive car. You have to wear the fanciest clothes. You have to be seen in the right places and go to the right parties and all this nonsense. I mean, look at all the stuff. Think about the stuff that was important and valuable 40 years ago. All those mansions the kids grew up now, they've all most of them I drive through, and they're dilapidated. They've been torn down. Um, uh, they're just not what they were. Stuff requires constant attention. I've seen cars all the time that were really expensive. Back then. Now they're just rust buckets in the back of somebody's yard, and all this stuff deteriorates. All this stuff it's just stuff, and it just no matter how much money or whatever it costs, it all is going to deteriorate and fall apart, and it's all temporary. And when you see it that way, you realize that putting your heart and soul into all this stuff doesn't get you anywhere. Nobody's really impressed, because all the people who would be impressed are only impressed because they're trying to also impress everybody with their stuff. So they're only impressed by the stuff that you have so that they can get it, so they can impress other people. And so you're just trying to impress people who are always trying to impress other people. And so you never really impress anybody, because the people um, uh, uh, that you think are impressed aren't impressed, because they're worried about paying their bills, so they could care less what fancy car or clothes you got. And then the people with the fancy clothes and cars, well, they're only just thinking, well, I need to go get a fancier car, more expensive clothes than that guy. So it's just this horrible frenzy of stupidity. And when you finally put yourself out of it and go, oh, none of this stuff matters, I'm
It's
just going to start enjoying myself. Man, life becomes a whole lot more enjoyable.
I was just thinking a great bumper sticker version of what you just said, and going back 40 years, would be that slogan of keeping up with the Joneses. That's what makes you
Yes.
miserable, in essence. Everybody tries to
Yeah.
be better than the next, be keeping up with what the neighbors are doing instead of what you're doing.
Yeah. When you find out the Joneses are, $30 million in debt, uh, they got horrible life. That none of them have any real kind of a career. Their kids are all turds, drugs and alcohol addictions. Um, uh, when you realize, oh wow, I'm trying to keep up with people who can't even keep up with themselves. What am I doing?
Exactly. I wanted to talk a little bit about Leonard, the world's worst motivational speaker. How often does he
Yes.
come out and about? How often is he around and and giving speeches and stuff?
Well, it's I would like for him to do more. I mean, the concept, he's based on my grandfather, who was an alcoholic, and he would always tell these. He would get kind of, he was always half sloshed, and he would tell me and my cousin all these stories and give us advice in life and talk. And he was just sort of just discombobulated, meandering And then every once in a while, he would just say something that was purely brilliant. And I thought one day I wanted to do something with this, with that him as a character. And then I was watching a friend of mine who was a life coach on Instagram, and he would always post these really positive messages, but nobody was watching. Nobody really giving him any attention. But he was plugging away at it. And he did one message one day where he said, you feel like maybe you don't deserve to be successful. Well, I'm telling you, you deserve it. And I'm giving you permission to be happy and permission to pursue your dream because you deserve it. And it just kind of made me laugh. And that's when it just hit me. I was like, that's it. My drunk grandfather is the world's worst life coach. And so that's when I started doing videos as him. And then and Leonard's kind of taken on his own thing. He's not an exact duplicate of my grandfather, but that was kind of the impetus to get it going. And I would like for Leonard to do TED Talks and do motivational speaking. He pops up in my actor once in a while, and
Well, if people go to
have a lot of fun.
rodneynorman.com, they can find out more about Leonard too and book him for a presentation, maybe at a TED Talk or a TED.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you're coming to Las Vegas, do you change your, I'll call it presentation rather than act. Do you change your presentation at all from city to city or venue to venue? Or do you incorporate some of Las Vegas's idiosyncrasies when you're here? How does that work for you as a performer?
I've done a few Las Vegas jokes, but usually the guys who open for me are all locals, and they usually do all the local jokes, so I don't bother. Plus, you have Vegas, you have so many people from all over the place that it gets to the point where it's just why bother?
Yeah, no,
Do specific, So no, and my act is it's always changing. I'm adding new stuff all the time, new characters, and just having a lot of fun.
Is the reaction of the audience the same? Because I've watched you perform in a couple of situations, and you walk out and they start laughing before you've said anything. I'm going to keep it vague like that, just for people who have not seen you yet perform, seen you at all.
Yes, one thing I learned from watching Jonathan Winters and Robin Williams and Bob Newhart was learning how to work an audience without saying anything. And that's just one of the things that I just enjoy playing around with is getting. I've had people say I'm laughing at you and I don't know why, and I know why. I'm just not going to explain it. But,
it's almost. I think they call it working the silence in a sense, or working the silences that you're comfortable in terms of that. Jack Benny was comfortable in those silences and the pauses and making and getting people to laugh too. So you come from a great tradition of performance.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes,
that's
the old school comedy was very different than what you had. Now it's also in your face and fast paced, and I want to take it back to not do old jokes, but the old style, the old performance, where it was a performance. It wasn't just a guy pontificating about everything else that everybody else is pontificating about. I like to just get the people away from the world for a little bit. I don't want to talk about everything that everybody else is talking about. I want to just you come, you sit and watch the show, and just walk away just feeling better about your life.
Nothing
if
wrong
nothing
with
else,
that.
just after you stare at me for an hour, you feel a lot better about who you are.
Another description I think that could apply to you is a little bit of a unkempt Colonel Sanders. How about that? That might be another possible description of you.
Well, in this world where everybody's so obsessed to how they look and sound, I just want to blow that all away. It's like here comes along this guy who doesn't care what he looks like, doesn't care what he sounds like, doesn't care if he comes across like an idiot, and he's still doing it and putting himself out there. I hope that's an inspiration and people realize, hey, I don't have to be perfect. Things don't have to be exactly right to, make a video and share my thoughts and create some art, even if it's not perfect. That's what I want to inspire to do is people, stop letting perfection hold you back. Stop letting this idea of one day I'll do it, someday I'll do it. Do it now, right? You got time now. You want to learn how to play the guitar? Pick up one chord, strum for five minutes. That's how you start. You just build it one at a time. You want to paint? Buy some paint, buy some canvas. They're not that cheap. They're not that expensive. You can get them at Walmart pretty cheap, 20, $30, and you can start making paintings. Who cares if it looks good or not? Go look at an art gallery. You'll realize that our talent isn't a requirement. A lot of it's just doing it.
And if you go to a Walmart, you see Rodney, he'll open the door for you there.
Yes, it will. Probably, I might be the greeter.
Exactly. Well, that's a little reference to one of your observations about Walmart. Yeah. The you shared a lot of words of wisdom with us today. We have a couple of minutes left. And I was curious about, because you're so unique, do you ever look at your audience and figure out where they're coming from, either demographically or in some other way that you can, not that you want to target them exactly because it goes against your philosophy, but do you have a wide range of people that come to see you when you check out your audience? I guess what I'm saying is, when you check out your audiences, are they coming from all kinds of walks of life?
Oh yeah, I had one day I ran into this family who recognized me, and the father and the mother were there, and they had 3 kids with them, and a 14-year-old boy, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old, I believe. And the kids, the 2 younger ones were just staring at me in complete disbelief, like the 14-year-old, he came across like he was just bored, like, oh, I can't believe my parents are doing this. And the parents are telling me, say, hey, we love you, we love your video, we like that we can share our videos with our kids, and well, the kids will watch the videos and we'll talk about what you're saying, and you teach these lessons, and it's funny, and we just really appreciate you. Hey, is there any way we could get a picture with you? And I'm like, oh, sure. And so as we were getting in position to take the picture, the 14-year-old boy looks at me and goes, I'm really sorry, I'm very nervous because I've never been around somebody famous before. And it's the first time I've ever met a celebrity. And it struck me weird because I'm just like, I'm not a celebrity. You get that humble thing. It's like, oh, like I'm not that famous, because okay, a bunch of people see my videos on the internet. That doesn't mean I'm famous, But it just struck me that at that moment that like this was a big moment for this kid, and I thought I'm not going to take that away from him. So I said, well, you're doing a great job. I want you to know I'm a little nervous too because it's the first time I've met you. And good laugh, and we got the picture, and then there was another time I was up in Idaho, and there was a teacher who uses my videos every morning as well, he would always have like an inspirational message for the day, and he often uses my videos as to start the day. Here's your inspirational message for today. So the kids knew who I was, and when I was in town doing a show, I dropped by that class and spent some time with them, and every one of them came up to me, and we got pictures, and I signed everything and anything. I was signing shoes and backpacks and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they were just beside themselves that the small town in Idaho has this big celebrity coming, and that was crazy. But yeah, and it's all ages. I mean, it's everywhere, and that's part of by design. I mean, I keep the videos so that they are, that you can share them at work, that you can share them with anybody and not feel embarrassed by the content or the language. And that's just a lot of just me. I'm just not a profane person, I just don't use that kind of language all that often. I mean, I curse when I'm upset, but it's just not part of my regular vernacular. So I'm not, you know, um, but yeah, part of, like I said, I just want to just spread some little positivity and a little joy and happiness in this world, and do it without having to drop an F-bomb every 2 words.
Well, that's a great way to leave it. My guest has been Rodney Norman, comedian, philosopher, joy sparker, friend, and the purveyor of positivity. And he's performing this Friday and Saturday, September 1st and 2nd at Wise Guys Comedy in the Arts District of downtown Las Vegas. For ticket information, go to wiseguyscomedy.com. And for everything about Rodney Norman, including those videos we were talking about, go to rodneynorman.com, and you can follow him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And Rodney, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, it was an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
See you next time.